Who's going to go to school on Tuesday? They do a makeup? Anyways, okay, well, Tuesday on is summer, so we're talking vacation. We're thinking vacation. When you go on vacation, do you plan it to the to the hour, to the dollar, or do you just spontaneous? So Hannah's parents are here. They're our inspiration for spontaneity. They've had trips where they will just go into a car and drive anywhere. Hannah talks about when she was a kid. One of her favorite memories was hitting the intersection outside the neighborhood, and the whole car was wild, talking about where do we go, right or left, and whichever direction they went would decide where in the country they would drive. So just this cool little thing. So how many of you guys love the spontaneity? Spontaneity? How about planned? Planned? Planned. We're planned. We're planned. Although. A few years back, we go on this vacation, and we planned it out to go to the Grand Canyon, and we're going to spend 3 nights in the Grand Canyon, most beautiful place on earth. My goodness, if you've never been to the Grand Canyon, you got to go to the Grand Canyon. You got to go. Well, this vacation was going to be a different vacation for us, because every vacation before then, I was just so tight-fisted with the money, and I was so stressed every time we bought anything, and so I made... settled in my mind that I'm going to be a lot looser with it. This is going to be a yes vacation. You want coffee? Yes. Whatever it's just a yes. You want to do whatever you want. So for 3 days, we are having to drive an hour from our campsite to the Grand Canyon. And every time we drove, there would be a sign that says, Los Angeles, 500 miles away? But it was the sign that said Los Angeles. And every time we kind of goof about we could go to LA. And then I remembered what kind of vacation I was having. It was a yes vacation. So you want coffee? Yes. You want to eat out? Yes. You want to spend the whole night driving 500 miles just to spend 2 hours in LA and turn around and go the other way? Let's do it. Yes, let's do it. Some spontaneity can be fun. It's one of our best memories. We love that. And we like spontaneity. But when it comes to your job, when it comes to maybe a vocation you have, we don't have that same luxury, okay? Vacation, you can just show up. You got the reservations down, you're good. But when it comes to your job, you got to train for a job. You've got to prepare for it. Some of you guys have been in school forever for your degree and for your job, your vocation. So vacation, little prep. Vocation sometimes is a lot of prep. So when it comes to heaven and the end of our lives and our next life, we treat it like a vacation. But what if we're really supposed to be treating it like a vocation? What if you're preparing not for an eternal vacation, but eternal vocation? How would that change the way you live your life now? So I learned about this shortly after Hannah and I got married. Her cousin got leukemia, Gavin. He was barely a teenager, and he spent the last few weeks of his life studying heaven, just like you would study for your job, because he saw it as a vocation. He saw it as this is something that is real, and it's not just a break. And it really changed the way I saw what my life was about and where my life is going to. I want to challenge you. What do you see? So many of us, we grew up in church, and maybe our thought was just, we got to get the ticket to heaven. We got to make sure we get in. And by that point, reservation is set. We're good. But if we see it differently, then what does that mean for us now? And so does the Bible paint the picture of this next life as more of a vacation or a vocation? What does it look like? Well, I'm going to say vocation. Obviously, you probably think I'm going to say vocation by this point. And the reason why is because of one word, resurrection. And the Apostles' Creed ends with, I believe in the resurrection and life eternal. Resurrection isn't just something that it's not just something Jesus did, But because Jesus was raised, we will be raised. Because he walked out of the tomb, he did it so that we could walk out of our tombs. And the way the Bible talks about it is that we're going to spend a time, after we die, we're going to be asleep. Our body will be in the ground. Our spirit will be with Jesus. But then there will be one day where all of our bodies will rise up. Okay? So we don't have to wonder, is this the day that Jesus has come back? Because you're going to see eruptions out of grave sites everywhere, all over the world. There's going to be this mighty eruption when the resurrection happens. And we're going to be given new bodies. We're going to be resurrected. And so what I want to draw attention to, and what I really just want to kick around all morning, is this idea that some things will stay the same, some things will be different, okay? It's like a seed and a plant. It's like an acorn and a tree. Here's how 1 Corinthians puts it. When you sow, you do not plant the body that will be. That would be weird if you took this giant, corn stalk and you buried it all in the ground. That would be impractical. What do? You just bury the seed. So do you hear what Paul's saying? We're the seed. When you die and you're buried, you're not just buried, you really are, in a sense, being planted. So if you're a seed, and when you die, that's a dead seed, and it becomes a new thing. This is the way we need to think about our lives right now. Our lives right now we're gonna have become seeds. We are seeds that will become a plant one day. Okay? What does that mean for us? Well, it means something will stay the same. It's still the same substance, the seed, but something will be transformed. There's the already, but the not yet. And so we live in that time where the Saturday between Good Friday and Easter Sunday, we're somewhere in between this. Our death isn't the end of the road, it's a bend in the road. So let's talk more about this 1 Corinthians. What does this look like? And so let's talk about the already, and how the 1 Corinthians points us to that. And so I might need a little help from you, Jenny. What's the verse that we should be going to? Yeah. For the perishable, that's exactly the one. Yes, thank you. For the perishable must clothe itself with the imperishable, the mortal with immortality. So when you put on clothing, you don't change your identity when you get dressed in the morning. You're still the same person. So the mortal will put on immortality. The perishable will clothe itself with imperishable. It's still that seed. The seed stays the same. Another one talks about when perishable has been clothed with the imperishable, mortal with immortality, then the saying that is written will come true. Death has been swallowed up in victory. Death has been swallowed up in victory. Death doesn't win, okay? Death doesn't win. Here's what would give death a win, okay? If God were to say, here's all of creation, creation's bad, creation's ruled by death and sin and decay, and you know what? Let's trash it, and let's start up a new creation. If God were to do that, then death wins. But that's not what God does. How many of you guys ever work on cars? I do not work on a car. A couple of you guys. Sharina, I didn't know that. A little bit?
Changed my light bulb when I had an old car.
Okay.
Windshield wipers and
I don't mean, you've talked about stuff around the house you don't do, but like, you did nicely done. Give it up for Sharina. That's pretty great. Okay, so if you were given, just as a gift, a rundown classic car, how many of you would repair it, fix it up, make it new? How many of you would be like me and you would, as quickly as possible, get it out of your lawn, off the driveway, out of the garage, I don't want to see this thing. It just stresses me out. Yes, Jesus would restore the car. Jesus would transform it. He's into recycling, and he's recycling creation. And so when it comes to ourselves, think about this, the life experiences you've had, the good, the bad, the ugly, everything you've gone through, the way that you have grown, and the pain you've endured gets recycled. Death is swallowed up in victory. Death doesn't have the final say. You will continue on. Something will last and outlast even this life. Kind of crazy thing to think about. So that means what happens now matters. What happens? The skills you gain now matter. I remember 15 years ago, I was in ministry class, and they told me this little nugget for how to plan for a Bible study, and I thought it was kind of cheesy. And I remember thinking to myself, like, okay, when are you going to give me like something substantive, something meaningful? This is kind of just, this is a joke. This is goofy. And you know, that little nugget, that little thing they gave me, I've used for the last 15 years, and I think about it constantly. This week, Matt comes over to the house. He wants to start up this small group, and he's planning, and he's thinking through topics, and he's talking to people about the small group. And he's like, yeah, what can help me kind of craft these Bible studies? I said, oh, well, 15 years ago, I learned about this thing, hook, book, look, took. Hook, book, look, took. And I'll tell you, Matt is so much smarter than me. He's so much better than me because Matt immediately said, I like it. Matt said, hook, book, look, took. I know exactly what all that means. You hook them in, you read the book, you look at what the book says, and then you do your takeaway. You took. He's like, this is perfect. This is exactly it. And it got me thinking, like, the things you learned a decade ago, 2 decades ago, that you're applying now, I think it's going to be something like that. The things that you gained and the knowledge you gained and the experiences you gained that you thought maybe you'll never use again. Maybe, what is it? What if the things you're working on today, you'll actually be working on in the new heaven and new earth? What if it continues on? I was painting all week long. I'm painting. I'm like, will I be painting in the new heaven, new earth? I was talking to one guy. He said, well, obviously, if you're a garbage man, you won't ever want to be a garbage man in the next life. That'd be insulting. Maybe. But garbage people serve a vital purpose in our society. What is it? The relationships you have that you'll hold on to, they'll be transformed, they'll be different. The way you have been working on your patience, like maybe the progress you made is going to actually matter. I don't know. Here's the thing, already not yet. Some things are going to continue on, other things will be changed like this. So will it be that God snaps a finger and all of a sudden, I'm not selfish anymore? Will it be, I'm not greedy anymore? Or is it this day in and day out struggle with that and working through my character that will actually transfer? I think it could be that. There's already who you are, the seed you are. Think of the value that is of your day to day, has eternal consequences. Day to day. So often I just worry about do we get into heaven? Yes or no? Got to get people into heaven. But if you do get into heaven, what will it look like? And what are you doing now to prepare for that? It's the already. But then there's the not yet. And that gets fun too. The not yet. Okay, here we go. So is it with the resurrection of the dead? What is sown is perishable. What is raised is imperishable. This is the seed and the tree. The seed is perishable. It's dead. You are perishable. You're going to die. But then when it's raised imperishable. It's sown in dishonor. We're all growing more frail and weak as the day goes on. But it's raised in glory. It goes on. It is sown in weakness. It's raised in power. Raised in power. You know something about that? You notice anything about raised in power? Raised in power, raised in power. How many, what? The journey in life. That's awesome. That's not what I was looking for, but I like it. I appreciate it. Raised in power. What are the initials? R. So we got to stop thinking rest in peace is not an eternal vacation where you're done and you're in the clouds and you're just got a harp and I don't know, it doesn't even sound fun, the little pictures we get of heaven. Like, it sounds really boring. I don't know. Once you see one flying baby with wings, like you've seen them all. But what about this? It's not rest in peace. It's raised in power. You're going to have work to do. You're going to be empowered in a way you've never been empowered before. Get this. Sown a natural body, raised a spiritual body? Does that mean we're ghosts? No, because it's a body. If I said, I'm going to set sail on a wind boat, I don't know if that's a real word, a wind boat, a term. I'm not very nautical, even though we named the church Anchor. I know what an anchor is. I know that much. I don't know what a wind boat is. But if you said, you'd say a sailboat. Yeah, it's a sailboat. But if I called it a wind boat, you wouldn't think that's a boat made of wind. You'd think of it as a boat being pushed by the wind, empowered by the wind, brought about by the wind. The wind is taking the boat. And so this new body is going to be so in touch with the Spirit of God that it's like we're a spiritual body. We're carried about by the Spirit of God. See, when Lazarus was raised, he wasn't resurrected. He was resuscitated. If Lazarus had diabetes when he died, he would still have diabetes when he was raised. Jesus was not resuscitated. Jesus was resurrected. And that's why we have stories where Jesus appears. I don't know. Some theologians say, no, he didn't teleport, he didn't walk through walls. But I'm like, how does a guy just appear? They had the doors locked. They were afraid of the Romans breaking in. And there he was. Do you know what happens on the 40th day? The angels say, we've reached this. He's not here. He'll come back. He hovers into the clouds. Our spiritual bodies can fly. Can't they? If Jesus is good, that's all we got as far as a resurrected body we can point to. So there are things that will stay the same. It's the seed. The same substance of the seed will continue on, but it will be transformed. We're getting a massive upgrade. We aren't resting in peace. We're raised in power, and we're spiritual bodies in the future. Something really amazing is going to happen. So let me tell you about C.S. Lewis. You guys familiar with C.S. Lewis? Anyone never heard of C.S. Lewis? Chronicles of Narnia, C.S. Lewis. So if you're familiar with his story, he was an atheist, he was a professor, and he was friends with, I cannot say his name, J.R. Tolkien. Tolkien? Like what you get at Chuck E. Cheese, right? Tolkien? Tolkien and Lewis. No, Tolkien? Tolkien. Okay. He wrote Lord of the Rings, so these were really impressive friends there. And I'm just going to avoid saying his name. I can say Lewis. So Lewis goes to his friend one day, and they have these, just brilliant conversations. Lewis was talking to his friend, you know who, and he was saying, I'm so inspired by the beauty and the joy and the glory found in some of these fairy tales. And he says, it's kind of sad. He's like, I don't believe in God. I don't think this is true. I think we're just going to be, back into the mud. And that'll be it for us. And his friend says, well, what if the reason you feel this longing is because it is true? It's like this. It's like when Ivy was born, one of my biggest fears, like the day of her birth, my biggest fear is how is she going to figure out how to eat? Because I'm like, she's got to know how to eat. Like, how do kids know that? Like, I don't really know how it happens in the womb. I know that they work on their sucking reflex or whatever, but like they can eat without eating. Like it just happens. So how do all these babies come out like knowing that they're supposed to eat? But it's like built into us. It's built into the being a human that we know we're supposed to eat. And so you put food in front of us and we eat it. And so our hunger points to the fact that the food exists. And so what C.S. Lewis's friend is saying is that hunger, that longing for more, points to the fact that more really is there. You read Peter Pan and you come out thinking, we were made to fly. And we were made to stay young and never die. You read Beauty and the Beast, and you're like, wow, kindness really can transform somebody else. You see what I'm saying? It's like there are greater stories behind these stories that are pointing to something grander, something purer, and something even more real than what's right in front of us. The upgrade we're going to get is going to be far more real. We imagine it as less real. It's like a dreamland. But we're going to look at our lives. We'll be like, wow, we really, the curtain has been pulled. And we're going to see what's really real. What's really out there. So they have this conversation. C.S. Lewis, 2 weeks later, he writes a friend. He says, I just became a Christian. Fairy tales. The longing for more. And yet we believe that we're going to be raised in power. We're going to be given spiritual bodies. So what does this mean for us? Let's continue on. Therefore, everyone say therefore. Big Bible study tip. When you see therefore, you say, you find what's it there for. And so this is at the end of 1 Corinthians 15. He had just gotten done talking about resurrection. This is the grand resurrection chapter of the Bible. And he's talking about how we're seeds, and seeds are going to be planted and become trees. So because of that, therefore, his conclusion here, my beloved brothers, be steadfast, immovable, always abounding in the work of the Lord. So Paul believed, when he writes this, he believed that the fact that we are seeds and we're going to be trees, that some things will continue and some things will be changed. The fact that we're already, but not yet, he saw that as a means of motivation to continue to endure the day-to-day right here, right now. Why? Because knowing that in the Lord, your labor is not in vain. What you do today has so much more significance than you could ever imagine. Eternal meaning packed into every day. Your labor is not in vain. I think I've said this before, but I love this picture. N.T. Wright talks about this. N.T. Wright is the theologian who talks about resurrection. He says the church has been missing this doctrine of resurrection, that we will be raised, that Jesus was raised bodily, physically, really happened, that this changes everything about our lives. What N.T. Wright says, he says, if you go to ancient cathedrals that took hundreds of years to construct, and you imagine being one of those masonries who spends your entire life on just one section of it. But to imagine giving your life to a work and then stepping outside and being able to stand in front of the glory of this massive, towering structure in front of you And you nudge your friend, you say, I did that part. That part was me. He says, that's the feeling we're going to have. Right here, right now, every day, we are working toward building the kingdom of God. And it will be real. And it will be visible. We'll be able to point to it. Say, that was my contribution. It says, be steadfast, immovable. Resurrection is coming. So your daily life matters. So here's what you're going to do, okay? I have homework for you. Every day, at the start of your day, I want you to think about something you're going to do, someone you're going to see, something you're going to work on. Think of one thing and use your imagination. Fairy tale it up. And imagine, what might this mean for heaven? What might this mean for eternity? Just like I did, I said, I think I'm going to do a couple painting projects. I'm not going to do too many painting projects because there's a lot to paint. But I will paint eventually, I'm sure, in the next life. Who are you going to see? Think about that. What our dynamic? What are we going to be joking about in heaven? What's that going to look like? What is something you're going to work on today? Maybe something about yourself. You're like, man, I got to grow in this area. I got to be more patient. Man, I think there's going to be opportunities to be patient in heaven. Use your imagination. Because the grit you put in today leads to the glory of tomorrow. You want strength for today. You need hope for tomorrow. You want direction today. You're going to want clarity for tomorrow. You're not just buried. You're being planted. Father God, we love you. We thank you so much for the hope in front of us. God, I pray for a supernatural, spirit-empowered imagination to fall into our minds right now, because we're just given such small glimpses of what it will be. God, I pray that we would be able to anticipate it more and more, God. And through this fact that we will be raised from the dead, raised in power, given spiritual bodies, that we're seed now will be a wheat later. All of this, God, that this would give us the motivation to do. Some of us are dealing with hard things. Some of us are really working to put ends meet. Some of us are dealing with difficult people. Some of us are putting in long hours. Some of us just feel like it's a daily grind. And when will it end? God, I pray that you would bring hope, peace, meaning to our day-to-day work. From this day forward, we aren't just preparing for a vacation, but for something so much more. Amen.